Okay, if I can get everybody's attention, let's go ahead and wrap up. What I need you to do right now with your team ballots is if you can please pull if you notice it's a three-part form. If you can pull off the back sheet, it should be the back pink sheet. If you can tear that off and keep it, and please hand in the top two copies, the white and the yellow copy, to one of the peer advisors to collect, and they'll tally up the results. But if we could please pull those in, great. And to wrap up the activity, the first thing I'd like to do is to hear from you. I'd like to go around to each of the learning teams, and you can use your pink sheet as a reference because this is what we just asked you to do. So all of you should have answers for this. I'd like you to share with us very briefly. We're going to keep this quick because we want to keep it moving. But I'd like you to share with us what the top three words were that you felt described your learning team, the name you chose for your team, and also your top ground rule. Okay, so if you can share those three things with us. And why don't we, just for interest, why don't we go backwards? We'll start with group number 14. Group number 14, do you mind sharing with us? And work our way all the way through. Thank you very much. Were there any common themes that you heard through what everyone shared with us? So it sounds like we're hearing a lot of time management, a lot of respect and listening. It sounds like we're also hearing a good balance between planning and action as well. Do you think if your teams respected those rules that you just laid out here, you just laid out 13 or 14 ground rules, do you feel like if you as a learning team respected those rules that things would work pretty well? Well, I agree with you. And one thing I'd offer to you is to think about what you've done over the past 2.5 hours. Because where you are right now, what you are putting on the table is comparable to what you will find in most management textbooks. The reason I'm saying that is that this is not rocket science. Most of this is what you know already, or at least what you should appreciate. But even though it's common knowledge doesn't mean that it's common practice. I can tell you firsthand that what you are talking about here is very difficult to find in practice. It takes effort, it takes practice, it takes a team commitment. So my challenge to you now is to find ways of putting that into practice. Today was the first opportunity to do that firsthand. Throughout the rest of this week, you will be working on your first case study, where you will be working through it as a team. Your next meeting with your peer advisor will be on Friday to present your case results. And actually, I take that back. It's not your case results, but it's an overview of your team process in managing that case. And they will give you some feedback as well. What I would urge you to do is to keep thinking about your peer advisors as a support network. They are here to help support your team throughout this first term. They will meet with you several times. They will stay in touch with you. Their support and assistance is, to me, paramount. So please take that very seriously. A few observations I had that I would like to share with you. First of all, what I saw in this cluster, some observations I had as far as how you approach problems. I think overall, you are going to be challenged from a time management perspective. I saw nearly every group push their limits to the very edge in managing their time. One of the tools I'll suggest to you is to break down your projects into set milestones. I didn't see very many people say, at 10 minutes we need to be here. Or even with the boxes saying, hey look guys, we have 10 minutes. Why don't we take 3 minutes to just brainstorm and then we'll try things. But the point is try to set milestones or to break down your time into manageable chunks and know where you want to be at the end of each one of those times. Another observation I had is that, which is what I mentioned to you at the very start of this session, you are a group of strong leaders. There's a tendency to talk over one another and to be very assertive with your ideas, which is fine, except when you have 5 assertive people trying to get their point across, you may not listen to each other. So a level of self-acknowledgement and respect for others will be very important here, so that you allow each other to talk, but you are also focused on listening, because it's not just about having airtime. And a third thing I'll mention to you that I noticed that I think is very important is I saw a huge level of commitment within this cluster. I did not see anybody disengage from this project. I saw everyone having 100% commitment in getting it done. That is huge. Because think about it for a minute. Regardless of how somebody else responds, if you are convinced they are committed to reaching the goal, that changes your perception, and it changes the way the entire team works together. And that's what I saw in this cluster, which means to me you have one of the strongest foundational elements already in place, which is the buy-in and commitment to succeed. I would take that to heart and build on it. I'm going to turn it over to the PAs in a second, but before we do, we do have a deliverable I need to talk about. We mentioned that you do have a team charter that is due. Now the great thing about this team charter, first of all, you have about 2 weeks to get this done. If you take a look on the second page of your packet, it gives you all of the details for the charter, and I'll go over those right now. First of all, it's due at 10 p.m. on September 4th, which again gives you about 2 weeks. It's 1 copy per learning team, not for each individual here. What we are looking for is a 1 to 3 page document. I don't care about the format, but I would keep it in a Word document. It allows us to open it easier. You pick the format, okay? But that document needs to be emailed both to myself and the peer advisor, your peer advisor, by September 4th at 10 p.m. That document must contain the following pieces: a common goal, vision and values for your team analysis, ground rules, and logistics. Those are the 5 components of this exercise. Back up for a second, because you've done almost all of this already. When you look at your common goal, that's the purpose of your team, what everybody wants to get out of your MBA, basically. You've already talked about that with your peer advisor. The same with vision and values, what you hope to create. On your pink sheet, when we summarize at the end of the day saying what words summarize your team, well, guess what? That's an indication of the vision you have for your group as well. What do we want to be like? Okay, that is a common way of phrasing what your vision is. Your team analysis, we did that with your Kutri. When you talked about your team roles and how it played out, and beyond that, what are our strengths and challenges as a group, you've already talked about your team analysis. Your ground rules, you shared it with me right at the end here. You had a chance to practice that with this last project and finalize saying this is what I think, or this is what we feel is one of our top ground rules. And the last thing is logistics. And logistics are literally how and when are you going to get together? What's your strategy for meeting and communicating with each other? That's the one piece of the puzzle you haven't done yet, which means you have already, for the most part, completed this project. What you do need to do is to organize and orchestrate this so you can pull the pieces together, make sure everybody approves of it and has buy-in to it, complete the logistical aspect of it, and get it to us within the next 2 weeks. It should be very manageable. Is everybody clear on this project? There are also samples on the web for you to take a look at if you like. The website is listed on your sheet. Any questions? Great. I also mentioned to you that you have 5 meetings with your peer advisors. The first one you already did today. The second one will be on Friday. It's the case presentation that you'll be working on all week. It is not, and they'll tell you more about it, but you are not presenting the case results to your peer advisor. You are talking to your peer advisor about your process in completing the case through the week. Because remember, they are there to support you as a team. You will be presenting the actual results to the professors. Okay? You will have another meeting with them at 4 weeks, 8 weeks, and at the end of the term. The 4-week meeting will be to revise and update your charter. The 8-week meeting will be a follow-up to make sure you're still on course. End of term is to capture best practices leading into next semester. Anybody have any questions? I would like you to leave you with a couple thoughts. First of all, your team charter is a living document. Do not expect it to stay the same. That's one reason they'll be revising it with you at 4 weeks, because things change. It is a living document. It is meant to keep everybody on track and aligned. It is critical. Also remember that your peer advisors are a powerful asset. As I mentioned to you before, these are the leaders of your class. these are the folks that are standing out from the rest. So I'd urge you to take the time to sit down with them, learn more about the university, learn more about the culture, learn about some of the opportunities that you have here to stand out in front of the rest of the pack, basically. Anybody have any other questions? I'm going to turn it over to PAs now to let you know who were the top picks in each of those 3 categories. Other than that, I would like to thank all of you very much. You've been a pleasure to work with. Take this to heart. If you develop your team and leadership skills, you can write your own ticket in business. It is what we see every day. I can attest to it, and you will not be disappointed. Take care. Enjoy it. I'm going to turn it over to the PAs.